This is the Chicken Yogi Show, hosted by the Chicken Yogi, Kit Kilstow. Kit creates neurodivergent and chronic illness liberation through a devotion to radical free-range wellness. Look for wellness as unique as you are and find your own path with the Chicken Yogi Way. Learn more and receive a free gift when you subscribe to their newsletter at chickenyogi.com. And now, today's show. Welcome. On today's show, I want to talk about the Wellness Wheel because the Wellness Wheel is at the foundation of what I do as the Chicken Yogi and also as Unscramble It, which contains work-life wellness. Unscramble It is coming soon, and I hope to bring that to you within the future weeks. The Wellness Wheel is a visual representation of the various areas in our life that are affected by wellness and that can be considered wellness. It was created in 1976 by a Dr. Bill Hettier, who was the co-founder of the National Wellness Institute. Now, he created it to show the interconnectedness of each dimension of wellness, how these factors add up to a holistic sense of wellness and fulfillment that give our life value. And I want to acknowledge that, but I also want to acknowledge that most likely back in 76, we did not have the awareness of the socioeconomic systems that we have today. We did not have an awareness of how toxic the capitalism culture is. And so I am sure that anything that he created back then was reflective of the day, and I want to acknowledge that. The Wellness Wheel, however, has been changed and updated. The original wheel had 6 areas of wellness, and I also use 6 areas of wellness on my wheel that I work with as well. The 7th area of wellness that has been added more recently and is sometimes shown, sometimes not, is financial wellness. I do not consider financial wellness a separate area of wellness, in large part because it relies so much on all the other areas. Occupational wellness, environmental wellness, physical wellness, emotional wellness, social wellness. Your job, your earning potential is not something that is separated from your environment, from your social circles, from where you grew up, from all of these aspects. And I think we need to be aware of that, and treating your financial wellness as something separate from those really buys into the whole capitalism idea that your worth is your productivity and you can just make more money. And I think a lot of us understand that that's not how that works, and it is very much not healthy to believe that your work is your productivity or your identity is your productivity. So I have removed financial wellness from my wellness wheel for that reason. But if you Google wellness wheels, you'll find that nearly every organization creates their own model of the wellness wheel and puts their own tweak on the wellness wheel. And I believe that much like, when they created this in 76, that the wellness wheel affected or contained that gentleman's values, as well as every organization creates their own wheel. The wheel embodies the values of the organization that uses it or creates it. And that's very important because something I talk about or will be talking about with Unscramble It is how, for example, as a business wellness program or business wellness model is not going to be aimed at creating the wellness of the actual holistic individual, but rather making them feel good so they work more. Likewise, when I look at the wellness wheel, my goal in creating the wellness wheel or in looking at this wellness wheel is to make sure that we are aware of the ways in which our lives are interactive, that we can't separate, for example, our physical health from our environmental health or our physical health from our social health, and how these areas of the wheel kind of work together. And I think of the wheel very much as like a tire on the car. And you use your tire on the car to go somewhere. Wheels turn very easily. They were a wonderful invention. But if that car tire is flat, if you're using, for example, a wooden wheel or a stone wheel and there's a chip out of it, it kind of bumps as it hits that chip. It doesn't roll as smoothly as it would need to. And likewise with our wellness wheel, if you look at that and you think about, okay, this area of my life is not as good as it could be, or I'm dealing with a mental health issue. I am neurodivergent. My brain has developed in a different way. I have a chronic health issue, my physical wellness. Then that's going to affect your wellness wheel. And I want to emphasize that if you're dealing with those, it doesn't mean that you can't reach wellness. Wellness, and that is something that I cannot stress enough, wellness and our definition of wellness and our definition of health needs to be unique to every single one of us. And so the wellness wheel being a visualization of that, you can look at your health and you can say, okay, and I'll use myself as an example here. I have fibromyalgia, which is a chronic pain condition. It's affected by my occupational health. It's affected by stress. It's affected by my mental health. And when you look at all of those, I can say, okay, today is a flare day. Obviously, that impacts my physical health, but then I can start looking for the reasons for that flare. Is there anything I can do? Can I start setting more boundaries at my job? Can I do some self-love, some self-care, some self-appreciation to help increase and improve my emotional health? And what does a good wellness baseline look like for me? If I'm dealing with an issue, if I'm dealing with something, then that would affect that. But that wellness wheel is unique to me. It's not like a car where you tell the guy at the dealership, this is the type of car I have, this is the size of tire I have. And everybody who has that model car or everybody who has that same tire size can pretty much buy the same tire off the rack and have it work. Our lives are not off the rack. Our lives are not the same. Our health is not the same. And so again, the wellness wheel helps us basically embody that famous Star Trek saying, infinite variety and infinite combinations. Our health has an infinite way of combining these 6 areas of the wellness wheel, infinite variety, infinite combinations, but each one is going to be correct and true for us. What are the 6 ways or the 6 sections of the wellness wheel? Well, beginning at the top, I have social wellness. That would be your social circles, whether online or offline. That would be your friends, your family, who's your support system, who's around you. Your spiritual wellness, and you don't have to be religious. You don't have to aspire or ascribe to some specific religious or spiritual identity or theology in order to have spiritual wellness. Spiritual wellness could be, do you feel like you're a part of something bigger? If you look up at the stars at night, do you feel how infinite space is and how very small we humans are, or that we are just one planet orbiting one sun in a vast, vast galaxy, let alone the solar system and the entire universe? Spiritual wellness can be very scientific and have great connections to the world around us. Spiritual wellness to me is connection wellness. How connected do you feel like you're a part of a bigger whole, or do you feel like you're standing out there isolated all by yourself? Environmental wellness. This could be globally. This could be the environmental crisis that we are currently dealing with in this age of climate change. It can be environmental wellness as far as your immediate home. Is your home safe? Does your home contain mold? Does your neighborhood where you live, is that safe? Do you feel safe at work? Does your work environment suit you as far as any sensory needs? If you're neurodivergent, you might be sensitive to light, or if you have fibromyalgia or migraines, you might be sensitive to light. You might be sensitive to noise or smells. Are these things accounted for in your environment? So your environmental wellness isn't just the global environment, but also your immediate surroundings. Your physical wellness. This is your physical body. Do you have chronic pain? Do you have any mobility issues? Do you have visual or hearing issues, impairments? That is your physical wellness. The flip side of that is your emotional wellness. And your emotional wellness could be the way that your neurodivergence impacts your emotional awareness, impacts the way that your brain works. Your emotional wellness could be your thoughts and feelings. Your emotional wellness could be any mental health issues that you currently deal with. One of the great myths of our wellness industry is that your brain is separated from your body. It is not separate. How your mind works, your thought patterns, that can impact your physical body. Again, using myself as an example, I know on the days when my mental health isn't the best, I have more fibromyalgia pain. The two play off of one another. That doesn't mean that fibromyalgia is a mental illness, but what it means is that your brain impacts your body impacts your brain. So your emotional wellness. Do you feel loved? Do you feel connected? Do you feel valued at your job? All of that is your emotional wellness. It's not just mental health per se, but also your thoughts and feelings. Occupational wellness. So this is where if you choose to include financial, a lot of people would shoehorn financial in here as far as occupational wellness. And again, to some extent, the occupational wellness is, does your job pay a living wage? Does your job value you? Does your job actually support you? Are you with a group of people that care about your growth and well-being, or are you abandoned? Occupational wellness. What industry do you work in? Is the work area safe? Does your employer follow OSHA guidelines? Does your employer go above and beyond OSHA guidelines? Occupational wellness is all of that, but occupational wellness can also be, are you doing the right job for you? Are you doing a job that's aligned with your values? Are you doing a job that's aligned with your skills? Does your job honor any disability or neurodivergence that you have? That is all occupational wellness. And then that brings us back to social. But as you can hear, since I'm explaining it to you, when we think about the wellness wheel, it is so much more multifaceted than anything that probably was thought up back in 76. It involves so many more layers. It's almost like, I think of it like one of those donuts that are a whole bunch of layers, a flaky pastry, where you got the surface and then you've got the, different pieces inside. You can peel back layers and go deeper. Each layer probably tastes a little bit different. There's a little bit different texture because of how it's cooked. Everything is completely different and layered, and each one of those layers is unique to you or I. So the wellness wheel allows us to visualize that, and the wellness wheel allows us to really think about how that works in our life and where that balance is. I also think that, for example, occupational wellness, you can definitely take every single one of these segments and break it down into those 6 areas. Your emotional, your physical wellness. Well, that may depend on your social supports, on your social community. It may depend on your spirituality. It may depend on your environmental wellness. It may depend on your occupational. And in fact, considering how much time we spend at work, it definitely depends on your occupational wellness, how emotionally or physically well you feel. And so when you think about that, it's almost like a kaleidoscope, an infinite, just going deeper and deeper and deeper. And you can stay on the surface. You can look at these 6 areas, just kind of surface and, start to interconnect them, or you can really start to go deeper into one particular area. If you know, for example, that your emotional wellness needs some support, that you need to, I wouldn't say work on your emotional wellness, but if you don't feel balanced in that area, then you might want to think about, okay, what is impacting my emotional wellness? Is it my job? Is it my social circle? Is it my physical health? Am I not receiving the supports or accommodations I need there? Am I severely depressed over the state of our environment? Is it our environmental health? But you can start working and kind of picking apart the different pieces in order to determine how to find the wellness wheel. And that's why I talk a lot about balance, because the balanced wheel is the wheel that rolls smoothly. It helps you move through your daily life. It helps you look to the future. It helps you understand and reconcile with the past. And the unbalanced wheel is like the flat tire. If you've ever driven on a flat tire, there's a very distinctive thump, 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 thump noise as you're driving on this flat tire. And you're like, oh, that doesn't sound good. I better pull over and see what's going on. If you're dealing with that in your life, then the wellness wheel at least gives you a place to start. So often we just feel lost. We just feel kind of harried. We just feel as if we're being pulled in 50 million different directions, and we're not quite sure why we're overwhelmed. We're not sure why we're stressed out. We just know we are. And the wellness wheel gives you a place to start. You know, it allows you to check in with the various aspects of your life, and it allows you to check in and say, okay, how's my emotional health? Oh, that needs help. Okay. Is there something that jumps out at to me? Yeah, my job's stressing me out. Then you can, okay, that's my occupational health. What about my job is stressing me out? Well, I'm not getting the support I need. Can you ask for something? Can you set more boundaries? Can you look for another job? With the understanding, of course, that that may not be as easy as everybody makes it sound. And kind of underlying all of this, we have to understand that the backdrop to this wheel is our current culture, is our current capitalist beliefs, is our current socioeconomic system, and everything that goes along with that. We cannot separate wellness. If we're looking at holistic wellness, we cannot separate holistic wellness from our socioeconomic issues. If you are disabled, for example, you cannot separate your wellness from the systemic ableism in society. If you are a person of color, of course your wellness is going to be impacted by institutional and systemic racism that is still baked into the system. And without going into a bunch of details about that, because I feel like each person needs to be on their own journey, I will certainly tell you what I think, but I'm here to talk about wellness. And so we need to acknowledge how wellness is impacted by these things. We need to be aware of it. We also need to look to other resources that will help us actually learn more about those specific issues. And because my wellness, for example, as a white person is going to be impacted differently than somebody who is a person of color. And again, that's part of what makes us all unique. Infinite varieties and infinite combinations. Each of our wellness is unique because how we experience everything in our lives is completely different. And therefore, we each need to not only understand where we are on the wellness wheel, but also start to think about how this wellness wheel might be impacted by other people's lives, other people's experiences that are so different from our own. And so wellness is everything. Wellness is holistic. And that is why I am really against one size fits all wellness. Too often when I say health and wellness, people are thinking about their physical body. They might not think about their mental health. They might think about their mental health. I highly doubt they're thinking about their spiritual wellness. I highly doubt they're thinking about environmental or occupational wellness unless somebody talks specifically about work life balance or something along those lines. But again, if you're separating that from your overall wellness wheel, your holistic wellness, you're not looking at that in the whole. You're not looking at that as far as how that area is impacted by every other area on the wheel and how that area is impacted by our socioeconomic systems, by our culture, by our society, and by everything that's going on in our society. So I encourage you to start to think about the wellness wheel. In future episodes, I'm going to dive deeper into the various parts of the wellness wheel and talk more about how you can use the wellness wheel to start to assess your wellness and start to make concrete steps towards finding that balanced, holistic wellness for you and what you can do. And I also hope to share some resources on those issues that I have talked about here, because again, I think we need to bring in other voices. I think because wellness is so unique and so impacted by everything, that it is really vital that we listen to a lot of different people, not just me. So with that being said, I want to thank you so much for listening. If you're curious about what I do, please go to chickenyogi.com, sign up for my newsletter. I send out encouraging letters at least once a week, usually once a week, and hopefully we can get you to a place where you can grow and flow. Thank you for listening. Thank you for listening to The Chicken Yogi Show, hosted by the Chicken Yogi, Kit Kaelstow. Kit's passion is creating neurodivergent and chronic illness liberation through a devotion to radical free-range wellness. We're not one-size-fits-all people, so why should your wellness be designed for everyone? Learn more at chickenyogi.com and subscribe to the newsletter while you're there for a free gift. Please follow the podcast at podcast.chickenyogi.com. Subscribe wherever you listen to your podcasts. Music is Running with the Horses by Purple Planet Music. Their website is purple-planet.com. This show is copyright 2023. All rights reserved by Kit Kaelstow and Chicken Yogi. Thank you for listening. And therefore we each need to not only understand where we are on the wellness wheel, but also start to think about how this wellness wheel might be impacted by other people's lives, other people's experiences that are so different from our own. And so wellness is everything. Wellness is holistic. And that is why I am really against one size fits all wellness. Too often when I say health and wellness, people are thinking about their physical body. They might not think about their mental health. They might think about their mental health. I highly doubt they're thinking about their spiritual wellness. I highly doubt they're thinking about environmental or occupational wellness unless somebody talks specifically about work-life balance or something along those lines. But again, if you're separating that from your overall wellness wheel, your holistic wellness, you're not looking at that in the whole. You're not looking at that as far as how that area is impacted by every other area on the wheel and how that area is impacted by our socioeconomic systems, by our culture, by our society, and by everything that's going on in our society. So I encourage you to start to think about the wellness wheel. In future episodes, I'm going to dive deeper into the various parts of the wellness wheel and talk more about how you can use the wellness wheel to start to assess your wellness and start to make concrete steps towards finding that balanced, holistic wellness for you and what you can do. And I also hope to share some resources on those issues that I have talked about here, because again, I think we need to bring in other voices. I think because wellness is so unique and so impacted by everything, that it is really vital that we listen to a lot of different people, not just me. So, with that being said, I want to thank you so much for listening. If you're curious about what I do, please go to chickenyogi.com, sign up for my newsletter. I send out encouraging letters at least once a week, usually once a week. And hopefully, we can get you to a place where you can crow and flow. Thank you for listening. Thank you for listening to The Chicken Yogi Show, hosted by the Chicken Yogi, Kit Kaelstow. Kit's passion is creating neurodivergent and chronic illness liberation through a devotion to radical free-range wellness. We're not one-size-fits-all people, so why should your wellness be designed for everyone? Learn more at chickenyogi.com and subscribe to the newsletter while you're there for a free gift. Please follow the podcast at podcast.chickenyogi.com. Subscribe wherever you listen to your podcasts. Music is Running with the Horses by Purple Planet Music. Their website is purple-planet.com. This show is copyright 2023. All rights reserved by Kit Kaelstow and Chicken Yogi. Thank you for listening. Learn more at chickenyogi.com and subscribe to the newsletter while you're there for a free gift. Please follow the podcast at podcast.chickenyogi.com. Subscribe wherever you listen to your podcasts. Music is Running with the Horses by Purple Planet Music. Their website is purple-planet.com. This show is copyright 2023. All rights reserved by Kit Kaelstow and Chicken Yogi. Thank you for listening. Reserved by Kit Kaelstow and Chicken Yogi. Thank you for listening.